So this is really technically the last summer garden tour. I know some people kind of count autumn as now, in September, but we're still technically in summer until the autumn equinox. So yeah, this will be the final summer tour of 2025. It won't be my final tour though. I'm going to do more, don't worry, because there's plenty of interesting things to show in October. But this is really our last chance to show the garden in its peak form. Whilst everything is still in bloom and there are tons and tons of flowers out, and not everything has really started to die off. So let's take a look around my cottage garden here in the east of England. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. I would love to have you here on the channel. I'm currently trying to hit 4,000 subscribers, so it'd be fantastic to have you as a part of the channel. Let's take a look at some of the things that are still looking really nice. Of course, we have to talk about Aster Monch, which is looking incredible. It has so many flowers on it, which is amazing. It really is the stunner in the garden at the moment, and this isn't the only beautiful Aster I'm going to be showing off, but it's a really, really great one. Very big flowers on this, which I love. I think they look so incredible. So yeah, this is definitely one of my absolute favorite plants in the garden at the moment. It really likes this position as well. It's not fully sun, it's got a bit of shade, but it's worked very, very well. So yeah, definitely one of my favorites in the garden. A really great late perennial for you to have. And it can tolerate a good variety of different conditions, so I highly recommend it. Also, I will say, my Nepetas are still doing good. You can actually see some new growth here at the bottom that has kind of appeared due to when I clipped them back a bit earlier on in the year. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of, spent flowers and stems on these, but overall, all the Nepetas are still looking really good at this time. The Cosmos, which I grew from seed, is still looking really, really good. As you can see, tons of heads. They're a bit smaller now, which I feel like might have to do with the fact that, they've been deadheaded, and this is like the 5th, 6th generation of new flower heads. So they're a little bit smaller than they were, but still very prolific, which I absolutely love. So they're looking very grand. I will say things at the front here have changed around a bit. I've made a lot of actual changes moving plants around and such because it's been very wet and rainy here lately. So been a good time to move plants around. I have removed some stuff so that, next year when these plants grow even bigger, they won't sort of just be drowned out. So I've tried to space things out a bit better. This Nepeta has grown really strange. It's like almost like a mat rather than the others, which is interesting. So yeah, I don't know. I don't love this one. I'm not gonna lie. This one's a bit meh. It's not as good as the others. I don't think this one is Walker's Low. It's like a weird variety that is not the same. So I might change that. The plant is still looking really good. The Erigerons are all looking absolutely lovely. Also, look at our grasses. The Calamagrotsis Carl Forrester, probably pronouncing that totally wrong, but you know what I mean. They look absolutely stunning, especially in this morning light. And this is the sort of autumn interest that we really want. Trying to get to focus, it won't focus. There we go. Trying to get that autumn interest in the garden. Grasses are number one for this, in my opinion. So yeah, and they'll even look good over winter as well. So get some grasses, folks. They're amazing. Another GM Totally Tangerine. When I planted this, it was so small that I had like 2 or 3 plants in this area. And it really goes to show you that's why sometimes you can't plant too much. Because looking at this, even this Erigeron down here is probably going to be covered next year. So it's always worth considering, okay, how much is one plant going to fill out this area? And GM Totally Tangerine has seemed to do that a lot. I do want to show off this beautiful Aster Harrington's Pink, which is in flower here. So I need to do some deadheading. Really like fluffy flowers. It reminds me of a chrysanthemum. I don't know if they're actually kind of similar to asters. I feel like they are. It's really annoying though. I will say this. It's really annoying how it's gone because look, a massive cluster of pink here. Lovely. I love it. It looks great. But the rest of the plant is taking so long to catch up. In fact, it's even more frustrating when you consider the fact that there's actually tons of blooms underneath which you can't see. That's something that I've definitely struggled with in this garden this year, is certain sections of plants coming up and then it not all coming up at once, if that makes sense. Like, for example, my asters, not asters, sorry, my dahlias, which do have some very beautiful flowers, I will admit. These look absolutely gorgeous. I'm sorry, I do not know the variety. I apologize, but I really don't. If you do know the variety, though, please comment them down below. I'd love some help on that. But anyways, back to my point. Because I feel like it's been such a dry year, at least this is what I've heard, things are coming up one at a time. They're not all flowering at once, and that can be really disappointing, I find, because, you know, I want a big display of flowers. I don't just want one at a time and then that dies and then, you know, another one comes up. I think that's a shame. So it is what it is, but that's definitely been one of the negatives of gardening this year. No really massive displays, at least for me. Verbena Bampton, still looking really good, in my opinion. So full of flowers. I love the dark foliage. Really, really nice one. Still some flowers on the Salvia caradonna, which again is a very early flowering one. But again, I'm kind of letting this go to seed. I don't mind it going to seed at this point. There's only so many times you can deadhead or cut it back, you know. And if you want to actually have those seeds, you're going to have to stop at some point. So this is when I've decided to stop. So many grasses. This one I think is Panicum Buffalo Green. Really love this foliage. We've also got this one, which I do not know the name of. So if anyone knows the name of this particular grass, please let me know in the comments section. I would love to know. Phlox Blue Paradise, still looking beautiful. I have actually done some deadheading on this, and as you can see, it has rewarded me. So I'm very grateful for that. Thank you, Phlox. Echinacea White Swans. One of my favorite plants in the garden, looking magnificent at this time of the year. Very late flowering ones. I did actually get a comment from someone saying you don't actually need to deadhead them. Regardless of whether you deadhead or not, more flowers will keep coming. Is that true? I'd love to know if that's true for echinaceas, because I always get a bit worried deadheading them sometimes when, you know, more don't come up. So I'd love to know if that's actually true. In the middle here, I have moved things around. So I used to have the Verbena rosea, but because I moved it in the peak of summer, unfortunately, it died off. So what I've done is I've added a Stipa gigantea, which is an absolutely massive grass, the golden oats, that is going to fill this area really nicely next year, be really tall, and sort of add to that prairie sort of theme I've got. So I'm really, really looking forward to that next year. Behind it is an amazing, yet a bit floppy looking, my brain is gone, Perovskia Blue Spire. Sometimes remembering all these plants can be hard, I apologize. But yes, I really love the Perovskias. Got a lot of them in the garden, as you can see. They go very floppy in the rain when it's been raining a lot, and it has. So that's why this one's kind of falling over a bit. I do use plant supports, believe it or not, but it doesn't always work, unfortunately. So gonna have to think about that more next year. What else? Geranium Brookside, still looking good. Still actually in flower, which blows my mind. You know, this thing died off ages ago and then came back with a big burst of flowers. So I'm very pleased about that personally. I think that is amazing that it could do that again. The shape of it has gone very straggly, but I'll forgive it because it's giving us so many flowers. But next year I'm definitely going to do a nice cut, maybe a Chelsea chop on it. This Verbascum, which I really don't know the name of. I've desperately tried to find it. I feel like it might be Cotswold King or Cotswold Queen, but don't quote me on that. I just want to give people maybe an idea of what it could be. You know, I try and know all the names of my different plants, but sometimes the garden centers don't properly label them. They give them sort of strange names to kind of make them more attractive in terms of marketing. And that means that I can't give you the proper RHS official names. So I do apologize if I don't have the name for a certain plant, but believe me, I would give it to you if I could. Anyways, this is still doing good. It's still, you know, it's mostly seed heads now, but still got some flowers coming up on it, which is really nice because this has been up for ages. Also, my wisteria is climbing nicely up the archway. So hopefully next year, it might make it to the other side. Who knows? We could certainly hope so. This is, okay, I don't remember the exact name of this grass. It is the Chinese fountain grass though, I know that much. And this one is called like Hamlin. So I'll try and put the exact name for it on screen, but it's really, really pretty. I love the seed heads on this. I will say, this is supposed to be one of the least hardiest plants in my garden. This is like hardiness level 3 or something, but I decided to have it anyways because I just really like it. If it dies, it dies, but it came back after last winter, which was pretty darn cold here, so I'm kind of feeling a bit faithful that it might come back again. We also have the Rudbeckia Herbston, which I've done a big trim back on to deadhead it, because as you can see, a ton of new heads are actually coming up on it at the moment, which is very exciting. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting another sort of set of flowers on this, which I wasn't going to do originally because I was a bit worried that it wouldn't return, but it seems to be doing absolutely fine. So this Rudbeckia is definitely one to give a nice cut back to, and you should see a second set of flowers, which is great because this one will really go until the first frosts, which is the sort of thing that I want a lot of in this garden. Over in the big border, I made a lot of changes in here, and I've also made a lot of changes over here as well. So to kind of explain some of those changes, I have to start over here. So in this border where the giant Rudbeckia is, I used to have a small Rudbeckia, I had a Helenium, and then I had some other random things, and I've basically thinned this border out a lot because it was just way too crowded and things were getting way too chaotic in not a nice way. So I moved one of my Salvia caridonas over here that was originally in the front border, and I moved that because you get much more sun here, so I'm hoping it'll flower better. I've also added in some more of the Carl Forrester grasses, so hopefully next year they will really be stunning. You know, this area back here was very light on grasses, so that's something I have wanted a lot of. And then I kind of made some changes over here too. So one of those Rudbeckias I moved over here, that one there, just so that we could have a bigger display. You know, I think having bigger clumps of plants can be really good. I've also grouped pretty much all of my echinaceas together. There's one grouping over here and then one over there, which I'll show you in a bit. Just because, again, I feel like it looks a lot better when you've got a big cluster of them in one place. You know, it really stands out a lot more in my opinion. It looks good. So yeah, these are some changes that I'm really pleased with. So much stuff over here is still looking really good as well, like the verbenas are showing no sign of slowing down whatsoever. We've also got the agastaches all looking really beautiful. So I'm really, really happy that they're looking so good. Also, the geranium Dreamland, which I cut back, is in such a good ball-like shape now, which I love. It's no longer straggly, and it is coming back with new flowers. So I'm really glad I did it, even though I did it fairly late. I think it's fantastic that it has decided to come back with even more. So I'm really looking forward to that. I also gave my Monarda Elsie's Lavender a big deadhead. I'm not sure if it's going to have the energy at this point to really come back with a new set of flowers, but I did it all to the buds, so I'm hoping, really hoping that it will. It'd be nice to see another flush of flowers on it. Also, I love, absolutely love, all of the Carl Forrester grasses in this back border. I think next year they're going to look even better. This smaller one is called Overdam, by the way, so that one's not Carl Forrester, but it's still a Calamagrostis. A really, really nice variant. Yeah, I'm so in love with all these grasses at this time of the year, and I can't wait for future to have even more. It's going to be really, really nice. Speaking of the Echinops, all these ones are still looking really good. I did actually do that thing where you basically when the Echinops heads die, they get all this sort of brown stuff on them, which I'm assuming is like the dead seeds, but you can kind of scrape that off and it'll come back looking really nice. So I did that. I don't know if I was supposed to do that, but hey, I'm loving how they look at the moment. Some are a bit more gray than blue at this point, but you can't really complain this late on. This pathway is still as chaotic as ever, despite the fact that I did cut back. These Nepetas, they still are going crazy. They're still looking amazing at this time of the year, which is nice. But yeah, this pathway is definitely very crowded, shall we say, in a nice way. Solidago, gold kind in flower, really nice. The goldenrod, beautiful looking plant. I did a Chelsea chop on this one and it thanked me for it greatly. You know, it's really got a much better shape, no staking needed. Sedum Autumn Joy, almost fully in color now and beloved by the bees. Such a late flowering perennial, but such a beautiful one. So I'm really glad that I've got a few of these in the garden. Ah yes, Aster Small Ness. Look at these absolutely beautiful displays of flowers. Goodness, they look so good. I love it. They're just gorgeous. I can't wait next year for these to have an even better shape and to fill out a bit more. But right now even, they just look incredible. So definitely one I recommend if you want a lot of flowers. Of course, they are very little. They're not very big plants at all. They're not going to grow massive, but that's fine. They just look incredible. And somehow the Rudbeckia next to them actually suits really well. It's not a combination I would think of, but it works. More Demii still looking really good, which I'm happy about. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how everything's looking, and I definitely have really enjoyed checking it all out with you. So let me know what's going on in your garden down in the comments section, and some of your favorite plants in my garden. I would love to hear. And I want to thank you for watching. I'll see you in another video.